that does not affect the wonderful beauty of his answer. True, in matters of great importance. Style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might have an opportunity of coming up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the greatest doubts upon the subject. I intend to crush them. Their explanations appear to be quite satisfactory. Especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
I am more content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
Then, you think we should forgive them?
Yes! No!
True, I had forgotten. There are principles at stake which one cannot surrender. But you should kill them. The task is not a pleasant one.
Couldn't we both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. You take the time for me.
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? But we're going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you're prepared to do this terrible thing.
I am.
To please me, you're ready to face this fearful ordeal?
I am.
How absurd to talk of the equality of the sexes. Where questions of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are. I am.
They have moments of physical courage in which we women know absolutely nothing!
Darling,
Darling.
Lady Rocknose!
Gwendolyn, what does this mean?
merely that I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here, sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of small coin, I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I am glad to say, under the impression that she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I have never undeceived him on any question. I consider it wrong. But of course, you will clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
I am engaged to be married to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards Algernon. Algernon!
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, lives?
Oh, no. Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did Mr. Bunbury die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, poor Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Bunbury? Oh, he was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, I mean he was found out. The doctors found he could not live. That is what I mean. Bunbury died.
He seems to have had great confidence in the opinions of his physicians. I am glad, however, that he made up his mind at the last to some definite course of action and acted under the proper medical advice. And now that we have finally gotten rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask Mr. Worthing, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is now holding, in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward. I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
I do not know whether there's anything peculiarly exciting in the air of this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements that go on seems to me to be considerably above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our guidance. I think some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I was not aware that there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, Southwest, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, the Sporring, Fifeshire, North Britain.
That sounds not unsatisfactory. Indeed, 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen, but what proof have I of their authenticity?
I've carefully preserved the court guides for the period. They're open to our inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I've known strange errors in that publication.
Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Messrs. Markby, and Markby.
Markby, and Markby. A firm of the very highest position in their profession. Indeed, I am told that one of the Mr. Markbys is occasionally seen at dinner parties. So far, I am satisfied.
Oh, very kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I have also in my possession, you'll be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and English varieties.
A life proud of incidents, I see. Although perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl. I am not myself in favor of premature experiences. Gwendolyn, the time approaches for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I had better ask you if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds. That is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So pleased to have seen you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000 and in the funds. Miss Cardew seems a most attractive young lady now that I look at her. Few girls of the present day have any really solid qualities, any of the qualities that last and improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come over here, dear. Pretty child, your dress is sadly simple, and your hair looks almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. Kindly turn round, sweet child. No, the side view is what I want. Yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 wing points on our age are its wants of principle and its wants of profile. The chin a little higher, dear. Style largely depends on the way the chin is worn. They're worn very high, just at present. Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
there are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cicely is the sweetest, dearest, prettiest girl in the whole world. And I don't care 2 pence about social possibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. My dear child, of course you know that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon, but I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed for a moment of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
And you may also refer to me as Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, had better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I do not approve of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding out each other's character before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon for interrupting you, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent until she comes of age. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
On what grounds, may I ask, Mr. Worthing? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say an ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more can one require?
It pains me very much, Lady Bracknell, to have to speak frankly to you about your nephew, but I do not approve at all of his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible. He is an Oxonian.
I'm afraid there can be no possible doubt on the subject. This afternoon, on my temporary absence to London on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house under the false pretenses of being my brother. An entire pint bottle of my Perrier Jouet wine that I was specifically reserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single muffin. What makes his behavior all the more heartless is that he was perfectly aware from the first that I had no brother, that I've never had a brother, that I never intended on having a brother, not even of any kind. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided to entirely overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
That's very generous of you, Lady Bracknell. My own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come over here, dear. How old are you?
Well, I am really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when I go to evening parties.
You are perfectly right in making some slight alteration. Indeed, no woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties. Well, it will not be long till you are of age and free from the restraints of tutelage, so I do not think your guardian's consent is, after all, a matter of any importance.
Pray, forgive me for interrupting again, Lady Bracknell, but according to the terms of her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew doesn't come of age until she's 35.
That does not seem to me to be a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the very high sperm who have, of their own free will, remained 35 for years. Lady Dumbleton is an instance in point. To my own knowledge, she has been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. I see no reason why our dear Cecily should not even still be more attractive at the age you mentioned than she is at present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Ouchie! Could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily. You know I could.
Yes, I felt it instinctively, but I couldn't wait all that time. I hate waiting even 5 minutes for anybody. It always makes me rather cross. I am not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others. And waiting, even to be married, is quite out of the question.
Then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait till she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say shows a somewhat impatient nature, I would beg of you to reconsider your decision.
But my dear Lady Bracknell, the situation is entirely within your hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolen, I will most gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
You must be quite aware that what you propose is out of the question.
Well, then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Come, dear, we have missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more might expose us to comments on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir? Is that not somewhat premature?
Both these gentlemen have expressed a desire for immediate baptism.
At their age? The idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he learned that that was the way in which you wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand, then, there are to be no christenings at all this afternoon?
I don't think, as of this moment, Dr. Chasuble, it would be of much practical value to either of us.
I'm grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. However, as the present mood seems to be one peculiarly secular, I will return to the church at once. Indeed, I have just been informed by the pew opener that for the past hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I am on my way to join her.
Pray, allow me to detain you for a moment. This matter may seem to be one of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism, a female of repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies, and a very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your household?
I am a celibate, madame.
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, has for the last 3 years been Miss Cardew's valued companion and esteemed governess.
In spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She is nigh.
I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Canon. I have been waiting there for you for an hour and 3/4. Oh,
Prism! Come here, Prism. Prism, where is that baby? 28 years ago, Prism, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104, Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator that contained a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, through the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered at midnight standing by itself in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained the manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame that I do not know. I only wish that I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day that you mentioned, a date that is forever branded in my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I also had with me an old but rather capacious handbag in which I intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written in my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction for which I could never forgive myself, I placed the manuscript in the bassinet and the baby in the handbag.
Where did you deposit the handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, this is a matter of no small importance to me. I insist on knowing where you deposited the handbag that contained that infant.
I left it in a cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations.
What railway station?
Victoria, the Brighton line.
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolyn, you will wait here for me?
If you're not too long, I'll wait for you all my life.
What do you think this means, Lady Bracknell?
I dare not even suspect, Dr. Chasuble. I need hardly tell you that in families of high position, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are hardly considered a thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Of a very emotional nature.
This noise is extremely unpleasant. It sounds as if you were having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They are always vulgar and often convincing.
And if you stop now,
I wish you would arrive at some conclusion.
Suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Is this the handbag, Miss Prism? Pray, examine it carefully before you answer. The happiness of more than one life depends on your response.
It seems to be mine. Yes, here is the injury it received on the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. And here is the stain on the lining, caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage, an incident that occurred in Leamington. And here, on the lock, are my initials. I had forgotten that in an extravagant mood I had to have them placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I am delighted to have it so unexpectedly returned to me. It has been a great inconvenience being without it all these years.
Miss Prism, more is restored to you than just that handbag. I was the baby that you placed in it.
You?
Yes,
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried.
I'm married. I do not deny that this is a serious blow, but